morning. How are you?
Good morning, I'm good.
Right. And thank you for accepting my invitation. I think I'm really, it's really good to have multiple feedback. And you being a journalist, I think your feedback is quite different from my other participants because they are mostly from the corporate or from the academia. So it's more like conversation. So you feel free to add your own narratives. So my first question to you is that as an individual, how do you experience menstruation in terms of, emotionally, mentally, or physically, or in a community level?
Well, I'll start with when I first started my period. I was very distressed to learn that it would be every month and that it would be more than one day. And then as years progressed, I became more and more aware of the fact that okay, I'm going to have acidity. All right, and my thighs are going to hurt, and it just going to be this 1 week of inconvenience and awkwardness that I will have to face, for like most of the rest of my life. Uh, in a way, I was upset. Like this is unfair. I didn't ask for it, but of course, nothing I can do about it. So yeah, that's what I felt on a personal level. And I remember my parents tried to celebrate the fact that I have a twin sister. So I tried to celebrate the fact that we hit puberty and that we were really upset. Like we cried. We're like, how is this something to celebrate? Felt kind of ashamed of the fact that they would try to do a puja about it. I was like, it was not a pleasant experience. But the one good thing is I have like my cousins and extended family still follows that whole, if you're on your period, you sit outside or you don't like, yeah, and then no one's supposed to touch you and all of that. So I'm really grateful that my parents didn't do it. But then on the other hand, I was surprised to learn that like I was speaking to a friend about this, and she's like, "No one in my family does that. No one I know does that." So then I was like, "Well, it's pretty common in my family circle. So how is this? There's this. How is this something that you've never come across in your life?" So it's like she's like, "I probably have read about it, but it's never been done in my circles." I was like, "Well, lucky you again." And then on a community level, I feel like it's more been at the family level for me. It's like, like if my mom is a little silent, some one cousin was like, "Oh, are you, sitting apart? Is this, And then we're being shushed by my grandmother, and then like another grandmother saying, "Don't come, don't come for this puja." It's like, and asking my mom, "Oh, like is this?" And then my mom got angry with her and was like, if you don't want her to come to your house, I won't send her. So like so all these tiny little incidents that just make this out, it's an uncomfortable moment. It makes life difficult in the moment, and then on top of that you have all this, like you have to hide it. You can't tell people, going on trips and trying to keep, hide all the garbage so that no one knows. And like it's just, I don't know, it's just a huge this thing. And also like I have a certain condition that makes me more this thing about hygiene. So the entire aspect of like, oh, there's blood. Oh no, what about the blood? And then when I was younger, I remember reading about, oh, we're generating a lot of waste related to this. Pads are plastic waste, and it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I didn't ask for this, and now I just have to suffer through it and try to be comfortable with everything related to it. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a monologue there. Sorry. Any further? I'll please.
No, I think Shruti, you are absolutely right. I think like I can remember in my school days and when I first time, experienced when I was 13 and my mom told that, these 5 days you have to follow all these uh, you know all these structural guideline that you can't do puja, you can enter the puja room, and so on and so on. So I think, it is a one layer of complication. Like you are already, able to try to handle this, your physical and mental well-being, what I call, but at the same time, another layer of complexities of, guidelines coming to you. And I really appreciate your line that what you correctly say is that you didn't ask for that, right? And I think, like the country expect children, right? They are the future citizen, and we females, actually, this is the first step, like, what the menstruation lead to a birth of a child. And I think this thing nobody explain, or, it should something like, we should be explained. But yeah, I really appreciate the small your personal experience, what you have shared with me. It's very important information. um, so moving forward, see one, as a we you correctly told that family, but when we move on, we enter the professional world, you go to the higher education institution or professional education. You're surrounded by your different stakeholders, like your family member, friends, teachers, bosses, colleagues, right? So, and every month, this 5 days is uncomfortable, and you're forced to go to your classes or your assignment. And for your case, you being a journalist, you probably have to, like, since like your job requirement is a lot of long time working, travel, meeting people, right? So I just wanted to know that during this time, how do you find that how people around you are empathetic with you, or, like they support you, or you continue hiding the thing? Yeah. I hope my question is clear to you.
Yes, yes, my question is clear. I'm just trying to think of instances. Uh, I mean, I'll start with education and then move up. So, education-wise, it was always like, um, I don't know, is the school bathroom clean enough? Am I going to be able to like get through this day without a stain? And but like girls are really supportive of other girls during this time in that way, that, oh, I'm going to check if you're like, oh, is my skirt stained? You can like ask anybody. We're all looking out for each other. That said, on the other hand, we're like, we completely don't understand what other women are going through. So like right around the time everyone hit puberty, like in school, which is, so sorry, younger than you asked, but like, oh, why are those girls sitting apart? Isn't this something they should tolerate? And then gradually over the years, you're like, your own period gets worse. And then you're like, I remember when I was in college, when I was in 11th, 12th, I had to bunk a physics tuition class because my period was too painful. And my sister was not, like, my sister thought I was being weak for it, which is fair. I've like done similar things to her, honestly. So but then later on, my sister herself has like gone through such a horrible experience with her period. Now why I want to speak about that is like more than unusually bad. Like she's had like a periods for a month because of like, like initially it was supposed to be PCOS, and then later on it was like it's just happening because of stress and an allergic reaction to a medication she was given to take care of the problem. So it's also like the thing which was supposed to help her was the thing harming her, and no one was giving her answers, and no one would understand. But like if you're getting drained of blood for a month, she got anemia, it's like how much energy are you going to have, and your emotion, how are you going to regulate your emotions when like it's just extended torture. Anyway, moving back to like the professional space, it's like if you have a cramp or if you have something happening, it's like you can't take a leave for that. You can't take a leave every time you're sick, every time you're feeling indisposed, and like no one's going to understand it. And it just feels, I feel like you can't really say that, oh, it's my period every time. And then, oh, I want to clarify that right now my job is more desk work, so I feel like I might not be able to answer to the aspect of like traveling. Of course, like when I used to freelance and all, then it used to be a challenge. I used to have to plan around it, or plan like it's always like, oh, do I have to go to a place with a working bathroom? Like having to think of, like, kind of plan and plot in that way is just very inconvenient. I just kind of grudge the fact that a man can just be like, okay, I'm going to take my backpack and I'm just going to hit the road, and I don't have to think about these little persnickety things that might get in my way. Yeah, so I don't know if this answers your question.
No, it's absolutely fine. I think, I got a larger picture, and also like, it's true, like, uh, females are more supportive, girls are more supportive to each other. My daughter is 17 now. She's in high school in 12, moving this time, she's appearing for her 12th exams. So I keep on listening her stories that how her friends, they support each other. Yes, so I can connect. I can also connect with my school days and with my university days. Uh, I think my next question is very much connected to this question that when we as we are both of us are accepted that females are more supportive, girls are more supportive, friends are more supportive, but at the same time when we go to the university, or forget about university, I can remember like I was in Xavier's Kolkata, and I remember that there was a girls room separate, right, which is we used to call it common room. And so girls used to discuss all these things. There was no presence of boys because it's a girls' common room, right? I don't know nowadays universities have that girls' common room or not, and I think we should not have it actually. But what this is a different question. So, do you think your workplace you are comfortable of speaking your menstruation challenges or period cycle with your men colleague? Like you can tell them, or it foster a very open environment where male and female colleague can easily discuss and get support from each other.
I honestly don't think I've ever told male colleagues when I'm on my period. Like, first of all, it's just, I mean, it's just a really private thing, and like, I don't think they're going to understand it anyway. And yeah, I mean, maybe I should be more upfront about it, but I don't think I've ever discussed it with a male colleague in that way. Like, you can complain to a female colleague, oh, I have cramps today, oh, Lady Red is visiting, but that never goes beyond, I'd say, the the um hypothetical ladies room that exists outside also, it's like. But like, one thing is that the one I mean, I think the one person I've ever talked to about my period is my dad, and that too not frequently. It's just like, if I'm saying something, if I'm making a remark to my mother, which would she would understand because it's like girl code, woman code. But my dad doesn't get it. As like, dad, when it's usually something you don't get, it's usually about that. So like, we've just given him a blanket instruction. It's like, so yeah, actually, now that you mention it, and also, like, you don't want to be. I'm lucky that no one in my life has said the, oh, you're too emotional, oh, are you on your period type of nonsense. But it's just, you don't want anyone to say that either. Like, you don't want to reveal that information because you're afraid someone's going to, you know, just, yeah, it's, if they understand that it's horribly painful, that's good. But if they're just going to use it as a way to like say something about you, and especially given like the all the talk around menstrual leave challenges, like, I remember reading comments on LinkedIn article, and people are just like, well, if you want equality, you should work through it, and what's the big deal? People fall sick all the time. The worst thing is reading, I don't know, this journalist I really admired, she wrote a think piece for Washington Post about how, like, we shouldn't talk about menstrual leave because if we wanted to be treated as equals. And it's just, I don't know. And even recently, like a couple of days ago, Smriti Irani made a comment in Lok Sabha, or she made some comment about how you can just take care of it with like some medication, and like it's not something you need leave for or something like that. I'm not sure what the exact statement was. But like, so yeah, of course, why you don't want it to be a thing. You don't want anyone. judging you based on that. Although it does impact your performance. Like I remember once being in, I was interning at Indian Express when this was back when I was in college, and I was just at office. But I had such bad cramps and I had no medicine with me. I couldn't sit on the chair. I sat on the floor to somehow feel some kind of relief because I didn't know why it was happening, but I was in a lot of pain. And it's like I can't just go home at that point because it's just 6 days a month, you know. So like yeah, that's like yeah, male colleagues, yeah, that there's already so much we don't really talk about with men, and I feel like this is just added to that, you know.
Thank you. I think when I was started talking with with my female colleagues, friends, and also my students, because I'm in higher education, so my students are like masters or undergrad students. I think there's a very mixed opinion came to me, and most of the senior colleague told that we don't want to be judged by the professional world, that I have my periods and I'm asking for support. But at the same time, of course, people are looking for some kind of most empathetic environment where they can feel comfortable, they can take a little bit relaxation, not only them leave, but probably leaving a little bit early, coming late, and that self-regulated you can say support, you can say it's a self-regulated support what they were looking for. But yeah, I remember, like, I just giving you a small my personal experience. Like, I one of my friend told me when I was in my college, she was in Shantiniketan, and she told that if you have ever visited Shantiniketan campus, it is quite far away from the city. And
Hmm.
at time, I'm talking about 20 years back. So like they used to call their friends, the male friends, to get the sanitary pad from the city. And it was very common in the campus, like because at that time you cannot do cycling, go all the way and get your thing. So yeah, it's depends of situation to situation, but yeah, it's very valid.
That's nice. I feel like that's the kind of thing that brings a friend group closer.
Right.
I, on the other hand, when I went on a trip with I went, just me, one girl with a pair of male friends. And unluckily, I was on my period during that time. And unluckily, we had all decided to skimp on money and book one room. And it was just an entirely torturous process of, oh no, are they going to find out? Oh no, are they not going to appreciate the fact that this is going to be a little weird? I'm going to have cramps, and like also like yeah, are they going to notice it in the dustbin? It's just all these type of things. So I'm glad that your friend had that kind of support from her friends. It's just maybe if I ventured a little, I would have found that support. But I feel like at the outset itself, you're hesitant to go for it. I mean, you've heard a lot of talk about women in the workplace, like this, to even surrounding maternity leave, and it's like, isn't it like so ridiculous how on the one hand you're supposed to have children, but on the other hand you're not supposed to be pregnant or have periods, and these are not supposed to affect you at all. I just It's just such an hostile environment sometimes to women that it's just you just want to not introduce other elements that might mess jar with that. So yeah.
Agree, agree, agree. Very valid points. So I think I'm moving to my next question, which we already bits and pieces you have discussed, right? So there are like many countries, and you already have written such a nice article and about regarding the leave, menstruation leave, and there are many countries those who have already introduced. Recently, I visited South Korea, and some of my colleagues told that they also have that leave concept, right? Even in India, also like few of the states have already, like in Bihar, there are officially it is there, but I'm not sure whether it is implemented or not, right? So I just wanted to know, and there's a very different kind of comments coming to me from my participants, that somebody says yes, it should be, somebody says it should be self-regulated, and a lot of other different comments, right? So I just wanted to know that what do you think? Do you think that And I'm not asking you in specifically in the context of India. I'm asking you as a, as a overall, right? What do you think that do we we should have a menstruation leave formally because it doesn't comes under the casual leave, not the earned leave, which we are forced to feel, right? So what is your opinion?
Well, personally, I feel like every woman experiences it differently. So, like, it doesn't make sense to have like a compulsory leave. But if you give people the option of saying take this set number of leaves in the year, because it's like with sick leave, you can't predict when you fall sick. So, like, it's okay to have that flexibility, but this is going to come every month for most women. You know, so it would be good to have a tranche of leaves for that separately, you know. So yeah, I think I do agree with the concept of menstruation leave, just that it should be optional, so all the people who say, oh, I don't suffer at all, don't need to take the leave, you know. They don't have to, no one's forcing them to be on leave. And enough people bunk work for silly reasons such as, oh, I'm not in the mood today. So why can't this be crystallized as something that can, you know, okay, fine, you know, maybe like female employees get this certain set of days that they can take off in a year. Unfortunately, while I'm saying this, I'm also realizing that already people complain about maternal leave. It's already a hindrance in hiring. So then again, I'm concerned about how this might play out in that level. You know, it's that people get resentful, like, oh, you have to have this employee is going to be slightly less productive or whatever. Never mind that many employees are productive because of unproductive because of a number of reasons. You don't even have you can even turn up in office and just stare at your screen. But just like psychologically, like our society isn't ready for this. Like there's too much resentment against women, frankly. It's like they need to like, oh, you want to be part of the workforce, oh, then you must pay in these ways. Like you can't ask for differential treatment. Although the entire system was never designed with us in Vimeo. So, like, I remember this one friend's mom was teaching at Gokhale Institute in Pune. Back in the day, they didn't have a bathroom for women. They had to go to a neighboring institute to get access to a bathroom for women. So, like, clearly, even the workplace isn't designed with the idea that women are going to actually show up here and be here. And there's so much resentment about even things like, oh, there's a crash, or oh, there's maternity leave. Then oh, you have period leave. Oh, you know, why should we hire you? You know, it's just, and I think that with it should happen, but we're not mature enough as a society yet. I don't think. Even the so-called progressive nations like South Korea, you mentioned. South Korea, actually, I've read a fair bit about how there's also this burning resentment because men have to serve compulsorily in the military and women do not. And that plays out in other issues as well, being like, well, you know, oh, you're just getting away without doing this very difficult thing. So, and you want even more type of attitude. It's like, what more do you want? Is this not enough? As if it's like enough that you've let people in the door. So, like, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, no, it's absolutely like I think you address a lot of important aspect. I also agree with the South Korean context that yes, it is there, and there are other challenges are also there. Uh, what I personally feel that I think you have correctly addressed that it more like there are multiple complexities of this particular discussion, and it's very difficult to lead to a conclusion. But I think one thing is very important, that is a self-regulatory thing. Like if I don't have a problem, then I should not avail that leave, which is very difficult to regulate, because as you told that people take leave in a silly reason. And also that another thing is, it's also true that workplaces are not designed for the women. A few days back, I was just talking with one of the very senior environmental scientists, and he told me a very interesting thing. He told, the the AC, like AC is designed for men, like the kind of the lower level of temperature, which is normally men are very comfortable, but females' body doesn't take so much of, like that particular temperature, and there is no way to, that adjust. So the even every product what we use in official setup, many of the product are actually designed for men, not for women, right? So I think when we talk about workplace inclusivity, this is probably a once very, very, you can say, small aspect what I'm trying to discuss, but there is lot many things to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, what you said about the temperature point is like, so I'm attached to the Bombay office, so I go into the Bombay office from time to time, and first of all, lots of people working remotely or like reporters out on the field, so usually the entire floor is filled with men, and it's usually so cold. I used to feel like the first few times I went there, I used to feel horribly sleepy, and then I wondered what was happening, and then I realized it was because the temperature was always too cold for me. And it's like guys wandering around, without shirts, and I'm sitting there shivering in my hoodie because it's too cold for me. And then of course, like, if you don't have a lot of people around you, you feel like, oh, is it just me? Am I making this a thing? Am I complaining about this too much? I feel like you can extend that to menstruation as well. It's like no one can understand the level of pain of another person. And like people say, oh, it doesn't hurt that much, and like you never know whether their pain threshold is higher or they're just not experiencing that level of pain. And I feel like I did say women support other women, but like women are also there at the forefront of keeping down other women, you know safe. In fact, in one way, especially in the topic of menstruation, because like it is the mothers who have like the first information, a lot of times they're like the first oppressors, the first in line for the oppressive treatment. So like, yeah, I don't know how it will play out in a workplace when like we haven't even tackled this basic notion that like women are not somehow doing. I mean, it's not, they're allowed to be in the workplace. They don't have to like do anything special to be there. They just exist and they can be there. You know, Everyone has the right to be an employee, whether it's a horrible employee or a good employee. Like, feel free to fire them if they're horrible, but you have a right to show up and try to be there. And I wanted to also add this additional point that I think in one way this is similar to mental health. It's like you still can't be like, oh, I'm having a depressive episode, I need time off work, because people don't believe that exists. But this very much exists. There is scientific evidence to back that it exists. And we're still not going to treat it like as a valid reason. It's just yeah, as I said, immature society. I don't know. For example, like I spoke about my sister. I just don't know how she's been getting through work the past few months. Like, this entire thing started after she got COVID, and then there was another fact that COVID might have worsened things for women, and there might not have been enough research done into that. And yeah, so just going into work every day being exhausted, and you can't tell your office that you're exhausted because your period isn't ending. And she did eventually, and then her female coworkers were horrified, obviously. That is like, no one wants to wish that even on their worst enemies. It's like, I hope your period never ends. It's like, so yeah, sorry, again went off topic. Yeah.
No, I am really enjoying the conversation because I think, the way you are connecting it with your individual, with your, with your family, with your extended circle is quite interesting. And it give me a lot of different kind of thought process. And I think I'm moving towards most of the end of the conversation. Just the last point that though you have mentioned in the first answer that there are a lot of rituals involved in the entire process, and some people experience, some people have not, but most of the Indian have experience. And when I speak with my international friends, they have also experience in a different way, like it is very culturally contextual. So my last question probably is combination of both, like any kind of like any specific thing that, in terms of rituals, in terms of practices you have observed, which you want to share, and also like anything which you want to share, like, not any very personal experience, but probably you have seen your colleagues, and again you have shared your sister, your colleagues, but anything, if you think that you any kind of, narrative or any experience you want to share, or any particular concern you want to share with me.
Uh, a couple of things come to mind. One thing is that sometimes these rituals become so ingrained that even when there's no external enforcer, we enforce it ourselves. So, for example, my cousins got married and went to the USA, uh, NRI husbands. And there, when there's like no one else paying attention to them, they're still following through on that sitting apart type of thing. So, in one way, after one point, it becomes ingrained as a part of, oh, this is culture, this is what we have to do. And then that uh, from a family perspective, and then from a friend perspective, it's like you hear like one of my friends was doing IRS training, and they have to go to places in Ladakh and all, and there might not even be a bathroom, or like if you have to go to forests in the northeast, there's leeches everywhere. You just like it's it's just an entire process of planning and like kind of like trying to figure out that, oh, I'm in this new environment, how do I tackle my period in this environment, how do I find these steps, oh, where's the water, oh, where can I dispose of trash. It's like, oh, how do I not get a rash at the end of all of this, like let's hope that I get through all of this without that happening. So that's one thing. And I guess another thing is, and yeah, and also, yeah, I remember I went on this field trip once, and it was it was something I was doing related to a course I was doing related to sustainable resources. Of course, everyone there is an environmentally conscious person. Unfortunately, I was on my period, and unfortunately, I still haven't yet transitioned to using a menstrual cup because I'm terrified, and I'm terrified of two reasons. One, I'm terrified that I'm going to. I just have this strong visual of spilling blood on all my clothes and like not being able to do anything about that. And that's not even entirely out of scene. Like I've encountered so many these things where it's leaked and I don't know what to do about it. Have had to, you know, find a way to get out of there. Go away from that situation. I remember my sister was once at a wedding and this happened. So yeah. So one, that afraid of spilling blood everywhere, and second of all, it's like uh suppose it's not enough, suppose my it's like I have heavy flow, like is this going to like work for me? And so I was on that trip, and then we were out for the day, and then it was like we were near a forest, and there were animals there, and animals like the scent of blood. So then I was like, can I change my pad in the forest? I don't think this is safe. And then I had to tell my this thing. Even it had like as if it was back in school again. Tell the coordinator that, oh, can I? Is there any way we can go back somewhere? There's a bathroom so that I can change this pad. So yeah, and like she was like, oh, why aren't you using a menstrual cup yet? So then it's again like it's like you should move to menstrual cup. And yeah, so I mean, I am planning to. I still have to get over my fear of blood. Unfortunately, like I yeah. So yeah,
Thank you, Shruti.
human frailty and weakness.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, Shruti. I think it's amazing conversation, and I am sure I'll share the video with you. And I'm very happy that many professors from other countries also interested. That we after the first phase probably we can sit down and understand that what are the major thoughts and patterns coming up. And I'm really happy to get connected with you through this project.
Uh, Thank you for including me. I feel like you've talked to a lot of people from various fields, and I'm like kind of grateful that you considered me as well. Maybe my perspective might not be as wide ranging as some other people, but I'm just glad to have an opportunity to talk about this because I'm sure a lot of women would. We don't talk about it enough. So
No, you're
thank you so much.
thank you very much, and I think your anecdotes, your stories, and your point of view is very, very important for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.